I drew a breath, I had landed my first blow. Ours was a clash of civilizations, writ small. He was ancient Kurdistan. I was 1980s LA. He grew up in a dusty town in northern Iraq, in a crowded mud brick shack without electricity or plumbing. I grew up in a white stucco ranch house in West Los Angeles, on a leafy street guarded by private police cruisers marked Bel Air Patrol. Our move to Los Angeles in 1972, when I was a year old and he was hired as a professor at UCLA, did not discernibly increase my father's awareness of modernity. He bought suits off the bargain rack at JCPenney in pastel plaids that designers had intended for the golf course, then wore them cluelessly to campus faculty meetings. I bought Bermudas and T-shirts at Santa Monica surf shops and wore them like a uniform, even on winter visits to my mother's family in Connecticut. His hair was a froth of curls that he cut himself with a 50-cent razor comb. I had my mom take me to Beverly Hills salons and sculpted my hair with gobs of KMS gel. My father listened to Kurdish dirges on an off-brand tape recorder whose batteries he lashed in place with rubber bands. I got behind my rock drum set and kept time with bootleg recordings of the Red Hot Chili Peppers. My father spent the day in his home office in a threadbare bathrobe, inscribing index cards with cryptic notations in Aramaic. I spent the day in the backyard with my skateboarder friends, hammering together a quarter pipe. His accented English was a 5-car pileup of malapropisms and mispronunciations. Mine, a smooth California vernacular, tinkling with grace notes like rad, lame, and mellow. Mellow, the verb, as in mellow, dude. When we collided, it wasn't pretty. I threw tantrums and unleashed hailstorms of 4-letter words. He stewed privately over how any son could behave that way toward his father, then consoled himself with the hypothesis that this was how children were in America. Mostly, though, I kept my distance. He lived in his world, I in mine. I can't remember the timing exactly, but at some point as a teenager I even stopped calling him Abba, or Dad. He was just Yona. He was the odd-looking, funny-talking man with strange grooming habits who lived with us and who may or may not have been my father, depending on who was asking. Soon enough, it didn't matter. I went away to New England for college and got a job with a daily newspaper. I lived for the big story, nerve-jangling, caffeine-fueled pieces about cops shot in the streets, lawmakers caught with their hands in the till, factories spewing illegal waste into rivers. My father holed up in his home office and, with his sons off to college, burrowed deeper into his studies of the language and folklore of his own obscure tribe, the Jews of Kurdistan. There were days when I wondered whether there had been a mix-up in the hospital's delivery room. Maybe a real Aram, one worthy of the name anyway, was out there somewhere, being raised by a Porsche-driving Hollywood agent dad who wished he could get through to his quiet son, if only he could pry the boy from that dog-eared copy of linguistic peculiarities in Aramaic magic bowl texts. The sense that I might have gotten my father wrong, and that I might actually be his son, came slowly. A turning point was a chilly night in December 2002, when my wife gave birth to our first child, a boy with fine dark hair and eyes like softly burning lanterns. Would Seth break with me as I had with my own father? Would he, too, think he had nothing to learn and his father nothing to teach? "Who are you?" Seth, with those eyes, seemed to be asking, as his mother deposited him into my arms that cold night. I was 31 years old, but I had no answer. Making things right with my father and my son would take work. I lacked the big-heartedness of, say, Barney the dinosaur or even Dr. Phil. I was defensive. I didn't have it in me to just go home, ask my father's forgiveness, and then embrace through tears as some studio audience burst into applause. So I did the thing that felt most natural. I reached for a reporter's notepad. If I dug far enough, asked enough questions, I thought I might find the girders that linked his world to mine. My father had staked his life